Well, I was only 18 and I was still in the UK, but soon after D-Day, I came out as a machine gunner. We arrived at 4 o'clock in the morning and the sea was very, very rough. And so we were kept on the ship for 4 hours. And then the captain said, you fellas got to get off because I got to go back to Portsmouth to get some more. And with that, they threw a rope ladder over the side of the ship. And I was in the first 10. He said, you first 10, come here. So we went over and he said, climb over the side. We said, you're joking. He said, over the time, when the landing craft comes up like this, it gets halfway, I'll shout jump. We said, well, we got 70 pounds on our back. He said, well, if you go in, you won't come back up. And we thought, well, that's good. And so there we are, holding on to this rope ladder, and he shouts out, jump. Make sure you land on your back. So we jumped off the ship backwards into the landing craft. We got halfway across the bay, and of course it was so rough. The driver of the landing craft said, I can't put you on the beach because it's so rough, you'll all drown. We said, oh, thanks. So we stood out in the middle of the bay there for a while. Everybody was so frightened they weren't seasick. And then we came onto the beach. We were then told, run because there's some Messerschmitts coming over. So we ran like the devil. And he said, see that hole in the brush? And the hole in the brush is still there today. And he said, that's where the tanks have gone through. Go through there and that will take you up to a road. And that's when the fighting started. We went to Eindhoven where there was a most terrific battle. And I'm a bit upset. My best friend was just stood over there and he had his head blown off. And they thought it was me. And the thing was, which upset me, was that one of my friends saw me 3 days later and said, what are you doing here? You're dead. And I said, no, I'm not. And they said, well, you've been reported dead and they're sending a telegram to your mother to say that you've been killed in action. And I went up to the Rhine, and then we had a terrific battle up over the Rhine. And then from Rhine we went into Germany itself, and eventually going through the various places, battle after battle, we got as far as Hamburg, where we had a terrible fight with the SS and the German Marines. And my other friend, he wasn't killed, but he was blown up and he lost his left arm and his right eye. And so we then went up to, we were told, don't stop in Hamburg, you must continue. And we went to the Danish border. Well, don't laugh, but the Danes wouldn't let us in. They said they were a neutral country. And we said, well, come off it, there's 30,000 Germans in there, we're going in. They said no. And it went all the way up to the chain to 10 Downing Street. And Mr. Churchill turned around and said, we recognize them as a neutral country and you can't go into Denmark. And we didn't. And so, as I said, we went from France, Belgium, Holland, Germany, and I ended up in Adolf Hitler's chancellery in his private quarters. And I'm going to tell you this, but if the Germans hear me, they might claim it back. But I went into his private bedroom. The Russians had a go at it, mind, and it was a bit of a shambles. And I opened some drawers there, and there was his shirts and handkerchiefs And I thought to myself, I think I ought to take one or two of these. Well, I didn't take those kind because it's a bit bulky, I'll tell you why. So I took one of his silk bow ties, which I've still got at home. And then I moved to the next part of the cupboard, and it had all his big swords like this, dress swords. So I took 5 and stuffed them under my coat, and they're at home as well. And then I went up to Dr. Goebel's propaganda ministry, which was about 200 yards up the road, which had been a terrible fight there. And we managed to get through the door, you know, and we swept it. It was a right mess, terrible fight there. And so I went to a desk upstairs, opened it, and there were all these iron crosses. So I took a great big handful, and all my family has got an iron cross. All these other things which some people might think they're junk, but to me they're very precious. And my wife says, "Oh, for goodness sake, why won't we get rid of those?" And I said, "Well, if somebody wants them for 50 grand, I'll turn them down. Make it 100,000. My machine gun company took 60% casualties, killed and wounded. And that's a lot. We were about roughly 200 with about, 12 machine guns and a heavy mortar unit. And out of those, we all went through right from start to end. And the trouble was, though, that you look up, somebody was missing. Somebody blown up with a telemine, you know. Somebody was shot with a sniper. And we lost 60%, which is dreadful. Dreadful. When you think about it, you know, it's really awful. Sorry.
You obviously think it's still very important to
I got
speak about.
tired. Sorry. This stupid thing today is 75 years ago, but I can still see my friend Jarman with no head. And you wake up some nights, it is awful. It's still with you. You can't get rid of it. That's my story. But I'm pleased I went.